What's happened is that since the late 1940s, when there was a great deal of research into how people could adopt new beliefs, particularly studies of what went on in Korea, how Korean prisoners of war could then appear on film, you know, saying how wonderful the communist regime was. This sent a real panic through Western governments, and there was an enormous amount of research done by both the CIA in the West and the KGB in Russia to try and understand how whole populations can be manipulated, the way they were in Germany, and the way individuals can be manipulated. And out of that research came things like an understanding of change management and why people maintain particular thought patterns and why they will ignore even contradictory evidence to maintain a belief that they already have. So what of course happened very quickly is that in the market economy, salespeople started to realise that, hey, this was something that you could use very effectively in advertising and sales. And then of course, selling something, it's just a short jump then to, if you want to attract people who are in the right frame of mind to change, that is that they're restless and dissatisfied, that's what selling is all about, is to create a need, create dissatisfaction. Then you got the evolution of selling personal growth, which was a very nice fit with using these techniques and the marketing model.
So from those 4 or 5 clients you had with Kenja, what do you think is the real nub of the problem with that?
Well, they all had enormous problems with their memory. They had real problems with remembering a lot of details about what happened in the group, and problems creating relationships outside the group and just surviving outside the group for all the reasons that we've spoken about. You know, Kenja were just not really much different. There was one woman who was particularly upset because she said that she knew about a sexual abuse of children in the group by the leader, who was up on charges. Those were dismissed, but I understand he's up on charges again in a separate case. And that was really her impetus to leaving the group, that she just couldn't cope with that information she felt that she had. And because her memory was all over the place, she was just a hopeless witness. It's not so much that they lose their memory, their memory becomes unreliable because they're often going in and out of hyperarousal or low arousal states. In other words, they're in and out of hypnotic states. And because of that, they often have very vague ideas of what happened, what was a programmed memory, what was a post-hypnotic suggestion. And it's often very easy when you try and cross-examine them as witnesses in a court case to get them utterly confused, because they just do not have clear understanding of what is memory and what is a dream and what might have happened as a program in a suggestible state. If you focus on just, say, personal development groups, and people say, oh, I've got to be very careful of those, then the people who are vulnerable to joining them are just as vulnerable to turning their back on them and being involved in a fundamentalist religion, because it's seen as acceptable, right? And what is more important, that people understand the psychological process that they're being put through, so that it doesn't matter where they go, whether it be an MWay meeting or whether it be a self-help group or personal development, or doesn't matter where they go, they can recognise the technique so that they've got some kind of opportunity of participating with informed consent. Because you can create a concern about one group, and if people don't realise that it's the techniques that are the concern, not the packaging, they'll just walk across the road and walk straight into a group with a different packaging.